Okay, I'm gonna kick it off, guys. So I'm really excited to be here, and I want to welcome everybody to our webinar, Reach for the Cloud for the Public Sector. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm your host, Gil Alter, Director of Revenue Growth here at SysAid. Today, we're going to share what you need to know to accelerate your cloud journey and reach your business goals. You'll learn about the latest cloud trends in the public sector industry, best practices and tips from AWS and SysAid experts, and stay tuned for customer stories with actionable lessons for a smooth cloud migration. So make sure to stick with us till the end, as we'll be raffling cool SysAid swag to 5 attendees, and also we'll be sharing the slides with you at the conclusion. After this webinar, confident to build your cloud migration strategy and crush your year. Some housekeeping. Oh, skipped one slide, sorry. Some housekeeping before getting started. We're going to be together for the next 45 minutes, as we have a large audience, which is great. Everyone is on mute, but we definitely want to hear from you. So please drop your question and comments in the chat on the right panel. Our SysAid team members, Mayan, Hugo, Gerard, are going to be live on the chat to answer your questions. So feel free to say hi and tell us where you're from. Also, we're very excited to hear your opinion. So don't be shy, as we have several poll questions. In fact, you can already answer the first one that's currently open in the poll on the right side panel. Finally, the webinar is recorded, and you will get the recording within 24 hours to your inbox. Again, my name is Gil Alter. I'm the Director of Revenue Growth here at SysAid. I want you to meet the rest of the speakers here. So together with me, I'm very excited to introduce you to Jason Whittet. He's the head of cities government transformation team at AWS. Jason, do you want to say hi to the crowd here?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having us, Gil.
Of course. Also with us today is Stephen Duplessis. He's the IT manager at Lanseria International Airport. Stephen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all here from home, South Africa.
And also with us is Ilan Falchi. He's VP of Customer Experience here at SysAid. Ilan, would you like to introduce yourself? Ilan has a bit of difficulties with his broadcast. We'll get back to him later. Thanks, gentlemen. Ilan?
Yeah, I think it's maybe better now. Thank you, Gil. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay. I hope that the technical difficulties are ended now. Thank you very much, Gil.
Thank you, Ilan. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's get to the agenda. So we're gonna kick it off with SysAid and the AWS partnership as the first item on the agenda. Then we're gonna move to the 2023 data and trends for public sector, where Jason is gonna lead us throughout this area of the presentation. After that, Stephen is gonna talk about his experience on how to migrate to the cloud in a safe and compliant way. We're gonna have a discussion between me and him. And we're going to finish it off with Ilan, who will speak about the migration to cloud with SysAid. So a bit about SysAid, to whoever of you doesn't know. SysAid is a service automation company with over 20 years of experience in the IT market, during which we've been fortunate to deliver value to literally thousands of customers in various industries and regions. Here's just an example of some of the customers we work with. Momentum is clearly on our side. SysAid was one of the only 10 vendors to be included in the 2022 Gartner Magic Quadrant for ITSM. It's a big vote of confidence in what we're doing and the value we're providing to our customers. Further evidence of the value that we provide is in the fact that we consistently gain high satisfaction marks from our customers. You can see all the different leadership and awards that we gained recently. So our mission is to help you grow and mature your IT service management capabilities. Our job is to make work easy with service automation. On the most basic level, it means that we do the heavy lifting for folks like you and your colleagues. As part of those efforts, we have a special partnership with AWS to make it even easier for customers like you to move to the cloud and enjoy all added benefits. I could not be more excited to let you know that SysAid won the Rising Star Partner of the Year award. This is a token of our appreciation by AWS to the successful partnership with SysAid. This also means that us at SysAid can better assist you in migrating to the cloud. We work directly with AWS experts, so together we'll provide you with the best migration experience. Jason, with your experience leading numerous cloud migration projects in the public sector, this is where you come in. Our audience is looking forward to hearing your insights regarding cloud security, cost, and the migration process for the public sector. Jason, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Gil. Let me go to the next slide. Hello, everybody. Again, Jason Whittet. I lead the city's practice as part of the government transformation team based out of London. I've been with AWS not quite 4 years. I previously ran the Smart City Innovation Center, which was a collaboration between ASU, Arizona State University, and AWS. My passion really is helping cities, local government with the urban digital transformation, and excited to spend some time with you today. I think we've got about 15 minutes. I'm going to go over some of the basics of cloud migration, and it's a short time, so please feel free if you want to learn more to reach out either to SysAid or to me, or you can go on the AWS website if you want, and happy to continue the conversation. When we talk about this, I always think of this as saying, some people say it's a proverb, some people say it's a curse, but it's a, may you live in interesting times. And I think it means that if it was boring times, we could all just kind of sit on the porch in our rocking chair and read a book, but it's not. These are interesting times, and particularly for those of us that have worked in government or are working in government or the public sector, there's a tremendous amount of responsibility and pressure to do more with less, with shrinking budgets, pressure to deal with the changes from climate, urbanization, globalization. And not to say that technology is the answer to all of your challenges, but we can definitely show you how the cloud can help you to do more. And so that's some of what we're going to get into today. And then also, we do have the chat, and I think there's some questions and answers at the end. But happy if there's things you want me to focus on, please, this is for you. So point me in whatever direction you want to go. And then just Gil, Ilan, everyone at SysAid, thank you so much for being a wonderful partner and all you do to help guide government and public sector through the digital transformation. So thanks for putting this on and for having us with you today. So jumping in, are folks familiar with the cloud, what it is? So just in general, the cloud is the delivery of on-demand technology resources over the internet on a pay-as-you-go system. So the difference is if you go back or if you want to do this on your own, you've got to go and order hardware, and you've got to wait for it to show up, and you've got to provision it, and you're responsible for everything. And with the cloud, you can simply get the services you need when you need, as much as you need, and you can stop anytime. So that's what the cloud is. And when we think about the cloud in terms of the public sector, one of the things we're seeing is this unique moment, right? All of a sudden, everyone's got a smartphone, everyone's connected, and citizens are expecting more. There's a phrase called omni-channel. Are folks familiar with that? It came out of marketing, but it basically means people want the ability to access services and information whenever they want, however they want, on a phone, on a laptop, via the web, via text, and more, you're seeing peers in government find ways to help their citizens get this information and services they need in whatever way they want. I sometimes think of it as the bus test. If you aren't able to get the information you want from your government while you're riding the bus to work, it probably means it's kind of hard. So that's in some ways kind of the litmus test these days is, can people get complete a transaction, download a form, do whatever they need while they're on the bus. And the cloud is something that's going to help you. And if you look at this survey from Forrester, these are some of the things that your peers are working on and thinking about as they navigate the digital transformation. And so um, I don't know if these are any of the things you are thinking about, but as you start to think about what your strategy is and how to go and modernize your government services, these are some of the things that you'll start to get into. And then, so what are some of the benefits? Why, I mentioned the complexity of having to manage things on premises. But there's some really basic benefits to leveraging the cloud. So probably top of all of your minds is security. The cloud's very secure, and in a minute I'm going to talk about the shared responsibility model we use and get into security a little bit more. But certainly that is something that's a huge benefit. Availability. A lot of the systems that the public sector runs are essential services. They simply cannot go down. And if you're running them on your own, being able to mitigate disaster and ensure uptime can be really challenging. But with the cloud, that can be significantly easier. Another big important thing with government services can be performance, ensuring that you don't have high latency, that that things don't break up, that you're able to do the compute, so you don't have that lagging time, so that you have high performance, so your customers have a delightful experience. The other thing, if you're running things on premises, is scalability. If you have uh, workloads that you're running that have maybe peak seasons where you have a high demand, you've got to go and provision for that high demand, which means the rest of the year you're paying for services you're not consuming. With the cloud, you can scale up or down depending on whatever demand you have. And then the other thing is innovating and being agile, the flexibility to be able to go and try things quickly, easier, and reducing some of the risks and barriers to going and being able to innovate. Many of you may know Amazon was founded in 1994, and it grew really, really fast. And around 2000, we had basically turned into this giant monolith. And because of that, we had a lot of gatekeepers. If you wanted to launch a new service, you had to go through this whole process to make sure if you pulled the thread, you weren't going to go and ripple and shut down other services. And so we redesigned the Amazon IT stack into microservices, and that kind of got the whole process of creating the cloud going forward. But reducing those barriers, reducing the gatekeepers, making it easier for you to innovate and try things, and reducing the time and effort it takes to do that is something that's really important. Again, as you go back to dealing with those challenges that you have today. And so, even though we know there's some great benefits and we know that there's a lot of demands, a survey Deloitte did recently shows that 70% of government officials feel like they lag behind. And this was a survey they did globally. I think they had respondents from over 70 countries. So there's still this feeling that government's kind of not as far along. And so, what are some of the reasons for that? And I don't know, do any of these resonate with you? So sometimes you feel like there's regulatory or privacy or security and compliance requirements, and maybe you're not quite sure what those are or what the implications of going to the cloud may be. Those are certainly things that we can help you with. The other is maybe you get some of those big, ugly, messy legacy systems that you're just afraid to go and touch. They're really important systems, and you don't want to get it wrong. That's another thing that SysAid and AWS have a lot of experience, is migrating some of those workloads over to the cloud. And then the other thing that we hear quite a bit is the skills gap. Do you have the right people to go and take on cloud infrastructure. And there are some wonderful tools that we have, having done this. There's a workforce assessment that can go and show you some of the skills, and show you how, after migrating to the cloud, you're able to increase your performance by reallocating some of your staff time. So those are some of the things that people point out as barriers, and happy to talk to you about strategies to overcome some of those. And then how can we, where do we get that experience from? Having done this for a while, AWS works with over 7,500 government agencies around the world, 14,000 educational institutions, and 35,000 nonprofit organizations. Our CEO, Andy Jassy, is fond of saying that there's no compression algorithm for experience, meaning there's no shortcuts, there's no way to kind of catch up. So the fact that we've gone and worked on so many migrations and helped so many different types of organizations in so many different types of scenarios, there's a chance somebody's has the same situation as you, and then we've been able to go and we can show you how we did it working with them. Some examples of this, these are just some of the references we have from those organizations. And again, if you want to go on our website, there's all kinds of video testimonials, there's white papers and case studies and other tools that can show you what the experience of others migrating to the cloud and navigating the digital transformation has been. And those may be resources that help you better understand what your journey could look like. And those are all there for you to learn from. And then I mentioned earlier, I was going to tell you a little bit about security. This is always something we hear quite a bit about. And if you are running everything on your own on premises, it's you versus the world. With the cloud, you have a shared responsibility model. And what that means is AWS is responsible for the security of the cloud. So the physical infrastructure, the networking, all the software and infrastructure it takes to run the cloud. You are responsible for what you put in the cloud. So things like your keys, your passwords, doing the patches and such on your software. And we've got a whole series of tools that one will help you with recommendations on what those settings should be. You're not required to follow them, but we help you with that guidance, as well as to monitor when there are different types of threats. And then getting into compliance, there's tools to help you with keeping your certificates and showing access and anything else that you might need for compliance. And happy to walk you through some of those as well. And then just to get kind of close to wrapping up here, um, uh, government has very unique requirements. There are a number of certifications that AWS has achieved, which demonstrate our ability to meet those requirements for you. And again, when it gets into compliance and being able to show that you are configuring the cloud to be in compliance, and then having the ability to document your work, those are all things that we have tools for and have done and can show you how to do in advance of any type of migration. And then again, just to wrap up, so, we talked about more and more governments are moving to the cloud. And again, legacy applications are a big thing. We do have a lot of experience in doing that, working with partners like SysAid. And if you have some systems that you'd love to chat about, please reach out, and happy to offer some ideas and some strategies and show you what that journey could look like. So Gil, that's what I had. Do you want to jump into the next presentation? Do you want me to do some questions? Any thoughts on that?
First of all, I would like to thank you. Thank you so much for providing us with your experience and AWS experience, and let people here on the webinar know that as part of our partnership with AWS, SysAid and AWS, when migrating to cloud, especially in the public sector, they're getting the best practices and know-how of AWS together with SysAid, working together. As you say at AWS, better together. Definitely true here in the partnership between us. I think we'll move on to Stephen Duplessis, and we'll let the people here at the webinar ask questions on the Q&A on the side, because we're we're a bit tight on schedule. But thank you so much, Jason. Thank you again for being here and sharing this with us. We really appreciate it. Amazing. So now we're going to move to a bit of a different type of session without slides. We're going to move to a conversation with Steven. So Steven, hi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Can you please introduce yourself? What brought you to Lanseria Airport to decide to migrate to the cloud?
Thanks. Yeah, Lanseria Airport, airport based in South Africa. We do provide services for the domestic, regional, and international traveler. We do around about 65,000 passengers on a monthly basis. The airport moved to SysAid around 2017 to move off at that stage a manual Excel process. We then implemented obviously SysAid on premises itself. And at that stage, or currently, SysAid is not just providing a solution for IT ticket, but it's implemented to make use of areas like HR, maintenance, and other business sectors of the airport itself. We were sitting in a scenario that we were faced with two factors or two driving forces to decide why we are going to move to the cloud, and what brings that need to move to the cloud. And the two of those key things were pretty much the fact that we've got a lot of tenants at the airport, and for them to be able to make use of a system like this, to be able to log tickets based on whatever scenarios they have, is how do we give them access to a system that's predominantly sitting on premises. And then secondly, based from the pandemic, we've realized or come to the realization that it's all fun and well to have a help desk system, but it doesn't provide sort of a back-end support to users to actually equip them with being self-sufficient in a sense. So that's where we then looked at the approach of SysAid, where the teams and the AI capabilities are coming into play with SysAid in the cloud.
That's amazing. I'm really happy it helped you, and I'm really happy that you found this solution great for you. I wanted to learn also from you, what were the main challenges that were holding you back until you migrated to the cloud?
Yeah, I think Jason's also alluded to it. I think one of the things that we felt was, or always plays a factor, is security. But for us, being SysAid being a massive, crucial part of the business, it's important for us to have uptime, response, and accessibility with services in the cloud. The process of moving to the cloud, what does that impact with data? Is there loss of information or history? How does that affect what we currently have on premises? This moving to the cloud for Lanseria Airport was and is the first full-blown cloud migration that we've actually embarked on. So for us, it was, call it a very scary and a very uncertain process and a time to go over into a cloud solution. So we obviously were very skeptical and very concerned, what will the impact be for a system that is so crucial to the airport, but at the same time have it functional in the way that we envisioned it to be.
Interesting. So that leads me to the next question, actually. So can you please describe to the crowd here the process, the steps, how long it takes to migrate to the cloud with SysAid, and your overall experience?
Yeah, I think, moving to the cloud for us, it took about 6 years to get done. I'm just joking. No, it was a very, like I said, for us, daunting, and it looked like it's going to be a very intense process. But the amount of comfort that SysAid provided during this process was amazing. So, just to give an example of the process itself and how it worked is you kick off with a workshop session, which is effectively explaining how the whole process is going to work, from that workshop right through to the day when you're actually going to be fully live and operational on the system, and everything that is going to go in that process is explained to you as the organization or as the user of the system. Then there's a session held with the organization where it is assessed, and SysAid actually sits with you and assesses the whole process that you have on premises. So to understand what is the configuration of your on-premises site, the databases that you use, what other integrations do you have within SysAid, and then a guideline of what is required to make this work within the cloud is shared with you. And then the cloud migration is done in a test environment where we're pushed into what they call the sandbox for a cloud environment, where theoretically we're testing the whole migration into this sandbox, which is obviously hosted on the AWS side. And in that process, you sort of get a feel of what could go wrong, what can go wrong. And in our instance, we expected the whole migration to take at least, call it 3 to 4 to 5 hours, maybe, to upload all the information. But within minutes, the data was sitting in the cloud. And within minutes, we actually had a system that was accessible and functioning. And within 2 hours after that, the test environment was basically, call it, operational. And then from there, shortly, almost within a week, given whatever steps or whatever other issues you might have, we then sit with SysAid again, review the test environment, and then plan, obviously, the final test migration. That process is almost exactly similar to what you've done in the sandbox environment. This time it's just obviously going to go to a live environment. And then from there, same scenario, within minutes to, call it, maybe max hour or two, that you then become live within the cloud. And to date, we still sit with SysAid on a monthly basis with sessions to recap and see how that session has worked, how the migration is working, if there's any concerns, or if there's any things that we're lacking in that sense. And it was up to date. I have to admit, this was probably one of the best migrations that we've ever attended or partaken in. We have to consider that, I think, if we had to put it in the volume of how much downtime we had when we did this migration into the live environment, it was no more than 2 hours to have the whole system fully operational.
I'm so happy to hear that. That's great to hear, Stephen. That makes me really excited and really happy to see how seamless it was for you. What were the results so far from being on the cloud since October?
Yeah, I think that we were pleasantly surprised. There was the vision or the expectation that there's obviously the additionals and the advancements and the enhancements of what SysAid in the cloud has to offer. But there was a few things that actually came up which we weren't expecting, actually. One of the main things that came up in that sense is that within Lanseria, we make use of a lot of workflows and customizations within SysAid. And as mentioned, we don't just use it within IT. So there's a lot of work happening in the back end, and being on the cloud has improved that support section so much better with SysAid, that they actually now have the ability to sit with us on the same system, and we can get guidance how to implement these workflows, where in the past, because the system is on premises, you sort of have a bit of a difficulty, and there's a bit of a delay, and there's a bit of a back and forth to try and get the system to work. That in our aspect, because we don't always have the amount of time to resolve or implement certain workflows, this has improved a huge amount of time within our side. Which in turn also, one of the main reasons, as we said, is the access and mobility of the system. For us, because we're an airport, we don't just sit in one space. We've got vast areas to cover, vast areas that is remote in a sense. So we needed to have the system accessible on a mobile device, or in any way that is possible to communicate back and forth to the SysAid system, which the cloud has now provided, not just as a mobile or a web interface, but also via Teams, that we can now communicate or log tickets where we are within the airport space directly via Teams, instead of having to try log onto a portal or trying to log a call via help desk, via an email system, whatever the case might be. This also have been improved in our sense, the accuracy of information that is now getting loaded by employees when using the system. So very good example would be users are starting to feel that they are actually talking to a system when using the SysAid Teams portion, because it's actually driven like asking questions. We, in the normal day and age, it was a ticket and you had to just type and hopefully someone will answer it. This gives you sort of a go in the right direction. And we've picked up that the amount of tickets that when they are logged via the Teams environment, the information is much more correct. It's much more accurate. And that provided a huge increase and more effectively responding to tickets that we've had in the past. And then finally, I think the biggest thing for us is the current journey that we're now following with SysAid is the full implementation of Teams and AI within SysAid and making use of the knowledge base systems that will then drive the support for the end user more aggressively and giving them the tools to be able to work and be effectively themselves to resolve certain issues, which is then obviously working from what the whole idea was, is to move into the cloud, was for the AI integration and the Teams portion.
What a huge transformation it did in such a short period of time. That's really amazing to hear. And it's a great success story. And we're happy you're with us. Thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate it.
It's a big pleasure.
Let's go back to the presentation. Sorry. Okay, fantastic. So, team, we're going to go back to the presentation and to Ilan. But before we go back to Ilan, I just want to notice you regarding a third poll question that's now live in the air. Go ahead and answer it. We're excited to hear what you have to say. Now we're going to speak to Ilan Falchi, our very own VP Customer Experience at SysAid. We'll speak about the journey to the cloud here with SysAid. Ilan, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Gil, and thank you, Jason and Stephen. It was so nice to hear you, Stephen, explaining the process from your perspective and from your own point of view as a customer that took the leap into our cloud. And my team and me, of course, we managed to move plenty of clients to the cloud from on-premises in the last couple of years. And our aim is always to try and minimize the impact on the IT managers, on the end users, and to try to reduce the downtime to a really low amount of time, because we know that those kind of downtime impacts impacts the KPIs that you are dealing with, and also, of course, the end user that trying to submit tickets and incidents to the ITSM and just cannot because of the downtime. So let's discuss a bit, or let me illustrate a bit about the process that we are doing in order to get the customers or our customers to the cloud. First, of course, we start with a kickoff meeting where we describe what is the project, and we describe how we plan the project and define what success will look like, and also what are the requirements and the timeline that will be necessary for the migration process. We schedule the project milestones, and in the meantime, in the background, we start to build the environment. We pick the correct region according to your geographical location in the world, whether it's US Oregon or US Virginia or Australia, European Union, and we have also an instance in Canada. And then we provide a new and empty environment with the SysAid URL, with your URL, and send you also the credentials to this environment. Once the customer is ready and we reach the first milestone, then the customer is actually initiating the migration process himself, using a client-side tool that collects the data from the on-premise server and start with an automatic upload of the data to the AWS bucket. And once the collection of the data and the upload is completed, we receive a confirmation that the process was completed, and we are ready to move to the next stage in the process. And then we are, from our side, from the SysAid side, we start to upload the data from the AWS bucket to the actual cloud, empty cloud environment, and populate the environment with the data and with the configuration. And once it's ready, and we are ready to actually roll out. I want to state out that we are doing it in two cycles. The first cycle is always a sandbox where we get to check the process, we get to do it and understand what are the challenges we are facing with the migration. We usually, every migration is different, and we want to understand if we have any challenges or obstacles during the migration, and that's why we first do it in a sandbox. We also provide the client with a UAT time to understand if all the data was removed, if there's anything missing, if there's anything that is broken. And once the UAT is completed, and once we get a confirmation, we can start and do the second cycle, and start the process again in order to do the production migration. And after we finish the process from the production migration, we can successfully launch, review the final configuration, and also do the final tweaks like LDAP integration, email integration, redirect of the agent as needed, and so on. And once the production environment is ready, the on-premise server can be safely shut down, and you can take the server and just, we have a saying in Hebrew, you can paint it in blue and throw it to the sea. We can just throw it away and completely remove the server from the data center and rely on the cloud servers alone. And that will complete the actual migration to the cloud.
Ilan, you're being humble here. I don't know if you mentioned it, but in the past 6 months, Ilan led something like in the high dozens of migrations of customers from the on-prem to the cloud. This is a super successful campaign for us.
And like I said, Gil, each migration is different. It's not the same, and we make sure by implementing this process, we make sure that all migrations are successful with a minimal downtime for the client, minimal impact on the end users, and we try to provide the best experience to our clients. We know that it's a big step. We know it's a big leap, and a lot of concerns are around removing your on-premise server and joining the cloud. But by implementing our process, by implementing this process that relies, like you said, on thousands of migrations, and from our experience in migrating our clients to the cloud, we are certain that the experience can and should be excellent.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ilan. Please notice, everybody, that there's another question on the poll, or another poll question for you to answer. We would love to hear from you, so go ahead and answer it. So we just wanted to add a summarizing slide for you to end this presentation. Once you migrate to the cloud with SysAid, you'll get to enjoy SysAid's most advanced version, as we said, together with new features and capabilities, as Steven said before, like the AI service desk. You'll also get to save on your on-prem costs and know that your migration process and data are in good professional hands due to the strong collaboration we have with AWS, as Jason mentioned here. As a next step, please go ahead to our community, post questions. We're adding now in the chat a link to the community. Please go ahead and continue speaking to us there. Our speakers will also go there and answer your questions. Between all of the people who will write questions on the community, we'll raffle also new SysAid swag that you can purchase on the new SysAid store. We're really excited to hear from you. I feel like this webinar taught a lot. I feel like we gained a lot from it. I really appreciate everybody who came to this webinar. I really appreciate our speaker. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everything you taught us. Ilan, Steven, Jason, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you as well.
Bye for now. Thank you.
Bye.